Okay, we're here with Eric Bissell again. Took him down here to this huge oak tree. We just, it's probably one of the biggest ones around for, I don't know, maybe 100 miles. We paced it off and it's like 34, 36 steps around. But what got us thinking about this, collecting goodly sticks and this and that, found in Leviticus 23:40. What do those things mean? We can see I collected a willow branch down by the stream to decorate the Sukka, and we have organic fruit that we grow here. We have a pear and an apple, goodly fruits. But there's got to be meaning behind this. He tells us to gather these things and adorn our Sukkas with it, and we need Eric to unpack this bag a little bit and try to glean what that meaning is. We might have a little problem with the wind issues here. It's a little breezy today. Eric, why don't I just come by the tree around there and you can stand around here and we'll try to get some better sound.
So
come in closer
for the Moed of
it's blowing.
He tells us to gather sticks, weave them together. Like here's a canopy under the oak branch. Weave them together and form a Sukka, form a temporary dwelling. So why did he tell us to do this? People have what they call a lulav, which has 4 species that they tie together, and including not a pear and an apple, but including a lemon, a citron, or an estrog. What, is it okay to use a pear and an apple? Let's look at what he said.
Yeah, it also talks in the regular versions. It talks about palm leaves. Well, I don't have any palm leaves.
There's no palm leaves here.
I could drive 70 miles and get some palm leaves, but is that what he's after?
You can actually buy a lulav and have it imported from Israel with the 4
specimens.
Is
that what he's after?
Species.
Let's dig into this.
Well, why Sukkot? Sukkot is spelled Samek Kaf Vav Tav. Suk is where we get the word for shack, or little dwelling tent. Samek Kaf, blending Hebrew into English phonetics and all. Last year at Sukkot we talked about, there's this verse that he says, Yahweh says he's going to restore or rebuild the Sukkah of David, the booth of David, restore the booth of David. What does that mean? Well, the word Sukkah is booth, Samet Kaf Hey. Hey is a suffix. It could be Samet Kaf Tav, the Sukkot of David. But that's actually the word that means listening. So to say he's going to restore the fallen booth of David, also what it says is the fallen is the word nafal, nun pe lamed. The word with the letter nun as a prefix letter, it could be pe lamed, which is where you get the pe lamed hey, pe lamed aleph. It's the word paleo, which is the word ancient, but you could say, well, David was listening to the written words of Torah. To go back and read the words, trying to listen to the ancient writings, is literally the fallen Sukkah, the fallen booth. Even the word David is the word beloved. And we talked about on Yom Kippur that the word that means to afflict yourself or to oppress or burden or humble or be in poverty literally is also the word that means listen and respond to the voice, in which case he, Yahweh, our Elohim, will listen and respond to our voice if we respond to his. This whole thing about the Moedim has something to do with listening, responding, speaking. Even the word matzah, the festival of matzah in the spring, it literally means find out how to do something. And he said, tell the story, eat unleavened bread, and then your children will say, why are we doing this? And you'll tell them the story of the Exodus, and so the Torah will be in your mouth. This is all about listening and talking to each other about what he said. So throughout the generations, it'll perpetuate the custom. It'll perpetuate the story of the family. What did Yahuwah say, and what are we supposed to do? And he gave us these 7 Moedim in Leviticus 23. And so here in verse 40, he says, go out into the woods and find 4 types of species. Well, this is the verse. I don't know if you could take a look at this, where it says, take hold, Vav Lamed Kuf Het Tav Mem, for yourselves, Lamed Kaf Mem, on day, Bet Yod Vav Mem, the first, that's the first day of Sukkot, Hey Resh Aleph Shin Vav Nun, fruitful, Pei Resh Yod, tree, Ayin Zadi, magnificent, ornament, splendor, glorious, majestic, like this oak, Hadar, Hey Dalet Resh. Now here's the word for cupped or open fingers, or it also means to bind or tie together, Kaf Pei Tav. And this is the word for palm tree, Tav Mem Resh Yod Mem. And branch, Vav Ayin Nun Pei, tree, Ayin Zadi, entwined or dense, Ayin Bet Tav, willow, Vav Ayin Resh Bet Yod, of the stream, Nun Chet Lamed, and rejoice, Vav Shin Mem Chet Tav Mem, before or in the face or in the presence, Lamed Pei Nun Yod, Yod He Vav He, that's Yahweh, El Hecha, which would be your Elohim, Aleph Lamed He Yod Kaf Mem, 7 Shin Bet Ayin Tav days, Yod Mem Yod Mem. Okay, so just briefly, this is the way it's typically translated. Take hold for yourselves, or go out and gather on the first day, fruitful tree, splendor, majestic, glorious, tie together or open hand like a palm frond, palm tree, branches, tree, entwined, thick, like interwoven, willows of the brook, and rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim 7 days. Well, let's go back and count. Number 1, fruitful tree. It doesn't say lemon.
Yeah.
I can go out and find in this part of the earth a pear, an apple, or what about even these acorns from the oak? That's a type of fruit, at least to the Indians that used to live here.
Boy, howdy.
It's translated, Hadar is translated as citrus, but this isn't citrus, nor does that necessarily mean citrus. So,
uh-oh, he's fired. Give him one
Hadar,
job, Ron. You had one job.
He's from the other side of the world. If it was upside down, he was probably looking up, and I threw it the wrong direction.
The cool thing about those is those are actual trees that were here on the original homestead when this property was homesteaded. And so, you know, I thought those would be the best things. And this is the biggest oak tree I could find around, you know, so I'm trying to just present him with the best things we got out here.
Well, this word Hadar literally means magnificent, ornamented, splendor, glorious, majestic. But the word Hadar also means return, repeat, and publish a new edition. Now, wait a minute. If it's a majestic tree, what has that got to do with publishing a new edition? It's the same word. That's what it has to do with it. And what about this word fruitful? It also means product, increase, and profitable. So fruitful is not just a fruit that's glorious. It's not necessarily all that he's saying. What about this word tree? It's ayin zadi, but it also means to close the eyes or to open the eyes and take his counsel. Same exact word. You look at the word for first, ha-rashon. It also means summit, topmost, principal. It also means antiquity, former, superior, and preference. If you look at the word Rosh, it means first or primary. Well, that's paleo. To be of antiquity, that's paleo. The summit, the top, that's Mount Sinai. Look at the word Ha-rashon. Hey Resh, Aleph Shin, Vav Nun. Well, the Vav Nun is a suffix. The word Hey Resh, if it's a word all by itself, means mountain. And the word Aleph Shin means fire. So in the word for first primary, former, superior is the mountain on fire. Well, that's Mount Sinai. So what I'm trying to show you here is that a way to read into these words
It was this mountain 1 year ago.
This mountain was on fire also, right around here. You can't see it from this shot, but right over there.
All around us, we had the burn
feet,
around.
We'll take another video and show some of that burn. But here, the first word, Vav Lamed Kuf Het Tav Mem. The word Het Tav Mem, if that was its own word, means subscribed to or signed up for, closed, shut, and sealed. When Daniel was told, hide the words and seal the book, that word seal is spelled Het Tav Mem. The word spelled Lamed Kuf Het means take fire, blaze up, instruction, teaching, or learning. Just the word Kuf Het means take hold. So what I'm trying to show you as an analysis of words here, this is a 6-letter word. And within that 6-letter word that we only translate as a 2-letter word, take hold, Kuf Het, is the concept that means also capture or conquer. Capture the teaching that was closed and shut, conquer the fact that it's been kept away from us for all these years, take fire, blaze up. I'm suggesting that the way that this, then it says lacham, which means for yourselves, or that which was given to you in the condition of the day on top, at the very beginning of that Mount Sinai, which was on fire. My fruit, peri. It's not just fruit trees. My profitable, my increase, my product. Who's the my? Is this Yahweh speaking? He's the one giving the instructions.
Sounds like it.
This word kafat, kaf pe tav, which is simply translated as either bound or tied together, or it's perhaps a picture of the open palm branch of the palm tree. The word tamar means palm tree, but the word also, tav mem, is unblemished, perfect, innocent. Mem resh is the word bitter. And it actually, the word tamir means tall, erect, or upright. Well, one of these pine trees, which shoots straight up like smoke going up into the air with a burst of foliage at the top, looks like a palm tree. The fact that this is translated palm tree is not necessarily the requirement for us to go get a palm branch and wave it at this festival. What I'm saying is, if you look at the meaning of the word, you could use one of these pine trees and accomplish the instruction, because it happens to be the word for palm tree, but the word tamor also means exchange instead of or recompense.
Caleb's convinced. He said, let's get some of these goodly sticks. Sorry.
That's okay. What this is saying is the same way that the smoke of a burnt offering goes up into the air.
Indeed, yeah.
This word is recompense or exchange guilt for innocence. This brings up a whole nother concept. Why is it that our Elohim gave us an instruction to kill an animal and burn it up and turn it into smoke? Somehow taking the innocent animal because of our guilt and make it go up in smoke, there was an exchange where we get its innocence and it takes our guilt. That was a sacrificial sin offering. So somehow a palm tree that rises up like smoke is a picture of exchanging guilt for innocence, as a sacrificial system.
When you mentioned that earlier, I should mention that that was the first thought I had, the smoke rising. When we first talked about this earlier, that was the first thought I had.
So somehow, when he told us, go get the branch of a palm tree, why an open hand? Well, the word here is kafat, kaf pe tav, but the word kafur, Yom Kippur, kaf pe resh, literally the word kaf pe is a cupped hand or an open hand, which is showing the fingers, and it's a covering, it's a cleansing, it's a wiping away of iniquity. So what I'm saying is that this study of looking at the spelling of words, we can read into these words, based on the spelling of the words in this verse, a whole different type of message. The word ayin bet tav means thick, entwined, or dense, but it's also something that's a beam or something heavy, but it also means entangled or to wind or pervert, to become entangled. Entangled with what? The word is willows of the brook, but the word brook, nachal, nun chet lamed, also means take possession or inherit, to produce a swarm of bees, a flash flood. something from generation to generation, handed down throughout the generations. And the word for arev, which means willow, also means to enter under somebody else's authority, to fellowship, intermingled, mix, blend, pleasant, sweet, and somebody who's the guarantor or a surety, like an insurance company, for you. It's like, wait a minute. Is this a willow of the brook, or is this a picture of fellowship, intermingling under the authority of Yahweh's guarantee that we're supposed to receive an inheritance? Something that he promised our ancestors centuries ago?
It's to mean
message
something.
embedded within the picture of getting these four species. So, let me take you to where, if I'm going to read these words and break down every letter and every 2-letter and 3-letter from using the etymological dictionary, people have asked, what is that dictionary? I'll show you once again. Ernest Klein. This is faded pink, but it was actually bright red. We just call it the Red Dictionary. Comprehensive Etymological Dictionary of the Hebrew Language. Etymological meaning, studying the origins of the words, how the words are composed of other words similar to other languages, for readers of English. This same verse, I'll read it once again the typical way. I don't have it written down, so I'm not following the King James or the Stone Tanakh. I'm just going off of my understanding of the letters, of the words. Though I don't claim to be literate in Hebrew. I never made that claim. But based on my reading of these Hebrew words, take hold for yourselves on the first day, fruitful trees, ornamented, but tied together, palm branches, tree entwined, willows of the brook, and rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim 7 days. Now, it doesn't say anything about myrtle. It doesn't say that it has to be a citrus or a lemon. And it doesn't, the same word palm, like I said, could be a tree shooting straight up like a pine tree or a fir tree. And even a majestic tree could be this oak. This is pretty majestic, which is why we decided to shoot this video right here. Now, take hold, but also it can mean take fire or blaze up. Ignite the fire. Stir up interest. That's another way to say it. For what has been sealed. The word sealed is in that word, chet tav mem. Capture the elusive instructions. The instructions are the lamed, which have been chet tav mem, which Daniel did in Daniel 12:4. Hide the words and seal the book. So I'm reading into my understanding of what Daniel was told to do with the fact that the Torah, the instructions that we're supposed to lamed, teach and learn, have been denied us for at least the 2,000 years of the Christian era because they were told they were nailed to the cross. For 2,000 years, all these millions of people that would have loved to learn the instructions of Yahweh have been told, nailed to the cross, don't do it. I've even heard people say, if we try to learn the instructions of the Torah, that would be a sin. Because he took them away so that we could be under his grace. And I think this word here says, take hold, ignite the fire to stir up the interest, to learn the instructions which Daniel was told to hide and seal. And that's in this one word. So that's my translation of this word. And then when he says, lacham, lamed kaf mem, it says, for yourself. I'm not going to put the blame on another preacher or another rabbi or another cleric to do it for me. Do it for yourself. Beyom, on that day of the first. Beyom is in the, bet is a prefix, means in the condition, and bet is a structure, a house, a shape. Harashon, well, that's the first, but it's also like back at the beginning. There was a whole study that we're doing regarding that. I think Moshe, whether Abraham had, as the book of Jasher or Jubilees says, writings that were passed down on the ark that Shem had, that Abraham learned, and that was the Hebrew, I don't know. That's what some people say. But certainly, Exodus 3, Moshe at the burning bush could have determined or configured the Hebrew alphabet because of the orthography and the meaning of the shapes of the letters. And that's in the word bush, hey, samach nun, hey. Hey, something revealed from on high, sonic noon, an engineered structure with a spark of consciousness. The meaning of the letters as they are expressed is the other hay. So in the word for the bush is the design of the entire Hebrew alphabet. That's another study, but my point is, that was right before Mount Sinai. Moshe sat down and wrote all the words of Yahweh. Okay, let's go on. Stir up interest for what has been sealed. Capture the elusive instructions from which you were banished for the subscribed duration. Now this sounds like the description of the 2,730-year curse and the study of what we call Erectology, which takes hold of the flame letters. See, this has to do with the instructions of the flame. So you take the flame letters of the modern Hebrew and you just invert them back into the Paleo, going back to the beginning, the Paleo letters. Consider them in the form of as when they were presented to us in antiquity at first from Mount Sinai when the fire was on the mountaintop. The upshot of this whole effort is pictured as the palm tree. Then he says, the speaker, this, my product of fruitful increase is glorious counsel, open eyes to what is magnificent, ornamented with majesty. Return, repeat, publish a new edition with the Paleo as a citrus tree loaded with radiant fruit. I'm reading into these words this other message which is in these words. Raise up bound hands. This word kaf pe tav literally means to be bound, and it's a picture of hands, kaf pe. So our hands have been shackled by our traditions, customs, and translations. And to go back to this original language, frees these hands to be raised up in praise. That's the picture that's in kaf pe tav. Exchange guilt for innocence. Receive, another way to read this, pe tav, receive the shem of your husband without bitterness. Be innocent of ignorance. Learn and study for yourself. Take it upon yourself. All you have to do is learn how to read these words. Be innocent of bitterness. Tav mem is to be unblemished, innocent and perfect, and memresh is bitterness. Telling you where I get these words from. See the words a different way. This is branched and diversified, to see things differently. Righteousness is doing what was instructed. Here, ayin zadi, the word for tree. Zadi is the letter zadik. See that righteousness is in the zadi, in the Mishkan pattern, is the Ark of the Covenant, and inside is the 10 Commandments, the 10 Debarim, the matters of, he said, do what I say, that is righteousness. So I'm reading into it from knowing the scriptures, a different way to read these simple words. Hear the voice of Yahuwah and respond with concerned attention. So here's the word ayin nun pei. Ayin nun hey is the word for Yom Kippur, to be afflicted and oppressed and concerned with replying. And here's ayin nun pei, but the pei is a mouth. So here, take the counsel of the mouth of Yahuwah and make it your business to be concerned. Be bound by the fellowship of those who would take possession of the promised inheritance. So here's this word for the willow and taking possession of the promised inheritance. Be bound in fellowship, blended with those who want to receive the promises that he promised Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Moshe, David. They all knew about this, but we have been denied this understanding. It's been sealed up. The fellowship of Sukkot is to be with those who want to know the truth. Bequeathed. The inheritance was bequeathed to those who rejoice over the words which are expressed from the mouth of Yahweh. Lamed Pei Nun Yod. It's translated in the presence or before him, but it's those which, Pei, mouth, open, Nun, jump out, Yod. They're his of Yahweh, your Elohim. So I'm reading this word lefnei, la penei, as being not just in the presence of or his face, but concerning the words which have jumped out of his mouth, which he has given to us through our ancestors. By oath, Shin Bet Ayin is the oath. Ayin Tav is time. Bet Ayin is bubble up or seek or quest. So at the time that we go back and say, what is it that Yahuwah swore to give us? It was what's in these words. This is that time. This is the Ayin Tov of going back and finding the great value, the majestic, ornamented splendor that he gave our forefathers that we are the inheritors of. Bring forth as a flash flood. That Nun Het Lamed is not just willow by the stream. Nun Het Lamed is a torrent, a flash flood coming down a ravine as guaranteed. Well, the word Yod-Mem means days, but the way to read that, Yod as a prefix means he will, and Mem Yod Mem is water. Well, he will, what water? It goes up here, like a flash flood. He will fulfill his oath the time that we seek Yahweh or Elohim according to the words of his mouth, rejoicing. I'm reading the sentence backwards. Once you realize this language, you can play and read these words like playing music on the neck of a guitar. This video that we were seeing earlier, like Prince playing As My Guitar Gently Weeps by George Harrison. What a video. What a talented man. We should be able to read these words and these letters the way Prince played that guitar.
Someday, brother.
So, why did he tell us to gather these four things? Because we're supposed to be in fellowship with the others who want to inherit the blessing. The ornamentation of grandeur that he gave Israel, the Kadoshi, the precious pupil of his eye. That which he has before us is to exchange our guilt of being ignorant, of willingly being lied to, of not caring about what he said, and turning it into the wonderful thing. He says, just do what I say, and I'll forget about all those things. Yes, there's Yeshua dying on the cross and forgiveness for our sins, but there's another matter. He said, by this will the sins and iniquities of Jacob, be done away with. He didn't say it because of the crucifixion or because of some sacrifice. He said, let there be no more sun pillars and fertility goddess poles. That's Christmas and Easter. Let there be no more pagan idolatry. Turn back to the words of Yahuwah your Elohim, and then your sins will be atoned for. And I'm not trying to do away with the blood of Yeshua. I'm saying if you read what he said to our forefathers, it had to do with knowing the Shem of your husband, which is Yod He Vav He, the Shem Zakar, which is that which opens the Pei Tav. And this is Kaf Pei Tav, like us being his woman who opens only to him and receives his word by his Shem. Once you start knowing these words, it ties in all these different verses from all these different places, and it starts sounding pretty intimate. And that's what we're supposed to be with him. And he gave us these four things, and if we keep them as a custom, getting 4 species and putting them on our Sukka, that's just the surface level. And he doesn't say we have to spend $50 and buy from Israel 4 particular species. Go out and get them from your backyard. Get the tall tree that goes up, the leafy tree, the one that grows lush by the river, and the majestic tree. Get them from your neighborhood, wherever. It's a matter of concerning ourselves with his words, and if we do nothing, we will get nothing back from him, because he only pays attention to our words if we listen to his. He said it repeatedly.
That's great, Eric. Appreciate you clearing that up. It's just, I don't think there's one person I've met who's really questioned what that was about. You know, let's just get these things here. Well, what are those things? Well, there's a dispute about that. Just get some stuff. But I'm glad you...
Cover yourself and like the shelter of this branch. Remember, the word sakat means listening. So, dwell under the interlaced foliage of these matters and Sukkot Sameach!
Hallelujah!